We have a quorum.
Okay. If you would please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While I have you standing, anybody that's going to give testimony tonight, you have to be sworn in. So if you please raise your right hand. I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Okay. I would ask that you silence any and all electronic devices. First item is the approval of the minutes of our November 3rd and November 10th meetings.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Anton. Any question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, the minutes as printed are hereby adopted. New business, planning and zoning item 10-034B. Tom Cavani of Cass Property LLC with Country Financial regarding the property located at 232 North Cass for the following. A special use permit request to operate a ground floor insurance and financial office in the B1 Limited Business District. Mr. Cavani, if you would please sign in up there for us.
I was asked to speak about office. My name is Jeff Orman. I'm an agency manager for Country Financial. I manage 25 agencies throughout Cook and DuPage County. And we've come to Westmont to open an office in the downtown area where I'll put 4 agents in that office, 2 career, which are independent contractors, and 2 employees with 2 staff people. So that's our plans. Country Financial, I'm sure you're familiar with Country Companies and changed our name a few times since, but number three largest property casualty company in Illinois. Our guys are very active in the investment arena and just have built a lot of long-term clients here in DuPage County.
And the reason for your special use permit is because you are a professional office in the B1 Limited Business District.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody from the public will speak on this? We'll close the public comment. Staff?
Just to elaborate on the purpose of the special use permit, if the tenant were leasing space on any floor other than the ground floor, the permit would not be necessary.
Any parking limitations?
No, there are 5 spaces behind the building. There's a need for 7, and there's a portion of our zoning code which allows staff to administratively waive variances when there are 3 or fewer spaces. They are eligible for that. In terms of the parking that's available, the number 5 behind, and then the on-street parking, while it doesn't technically count towards the code requirement, it should probably be ample, especially that far north of the tracks.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start with Commissioner Thomas.
Do we know what was in here before?
Lindley Design.
What?
Lindley Design Studio?
Oh, design. I have nothing.
Commissioner Pill?
So do I understand there's going to be 6 employees at a time in there?
No. Basically, there's 4 agents.
Right.
And then 2 staff that will come and go, and as the agents come and go. So it's not like...
So a maximum of 6 employees, of which there could be 2 to 4 at a time.
At any time.
Something like that. Hours, please?
We assume the majority, the office we're closing is in Downers Grove, and their typical hours are 10 to 5, 9 to 5.
Saturdays also?
And then Saturday on appointment.
Any evenings?
They work evenings by appointment.
Okay.
You know, the agents, 2 of the agents coming are veteran agents, have been 25 plus years. I mean, the agent, Marcy Conley, was in Downers, has been 25 plus years. And then the other career agent was an agency manager like myself, and is now, Marcy's going to retire. And that was kind of why we were moving this office and doing these things at the end of this year. So a transition period with her, and then 2 employees.
You may have just answered the question, but I'll phrase it a different way. As the number 3 largest carrier in the state of Illinois, how come you're vacating the Downers Grove facility?
Well, it's a one-man office right now, and I want some expansion. You know, our presence in DuPage is, I think the opportunity is great in the Westmont Downers area, and under that Downers office, it's just Marcy. And when this opportunity presented itself for this manager like myself coming back to be an agent, I said, let's expand this opportunity with 2 veterans and 2 people to train and motivate and develop in this area.
Right. Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, Commissioner Randon?
No questions.
Commissioner Van Buren?
No question.
Commissioner Fleet?
No questions, sir.
And Chairman has no questions. Okay, since we have a special use, we need a findings of fact, so if we could have a reading, please.
Criteria number 1, the proposed use at this location will not have any adverse effects above and beyond those inherently associated with such a special use, irrespective of its location within the zoning district. Finding of fact, this proposed office use is similar to other office districts within the B1 district. It appears that this business has minimum parking requirements and public parking is available on the street and in public parking lots in the vicinity of this proposed business. It is not expected that this proposed office will result in any adverse noise, traffic congestion, parking problems, litter, or other adverse or unique impacts to surrounding property owners or to the public.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a special use are hereby adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, a special use permit request to operate a ground floor insurance and financial office in the B1 Limited Business District.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion?
Just a reminder to the applicant, well, not a reminder, but a note. The village just approved a text amendment to its special use ordinance. So moving forward, all special uses that are approved are unique to the owner occupant of the property. If you were to cease operations for a 90-day period, the special use would lapse and you'd have to come back before you go through this process again. If there's a change of ownership of 75% or more, we want to see the new owner come in, get a new special use.
To be honest, I hope this will be, it's a 5-year lease we're signing, and I would like to see about 15 or 20 years. You know, that's my intentions with what I'm trying to do, so hopefully this will be.
Would never come into play then. But
yes.
even in 15 to 20 years,
yeah.
Again, new owner is going to have to get a new special use. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion. May we have a roll call on the motion?
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, sir, you have our recommendation, and staff can tell you when you go before a Thursday evening committee of the whole for the trustees.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
sir.
Have a great night.
Good luck.
Next item, Planning and Zoning 10-035, Keisha Knight of Simply Nails regarding the property located at 22 South Cass for the following. A, zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls. Ms. Knight, good evening.
Good evening to you gentlemen again.
Long time no see.
I know, right? I'm sorry, I'm filling out the sheet here. Okay, so I realized that I was just before you gentlemen, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I am back again. But this one is for a parking variance, and the reason the parking variance is being requested was because during the previous proceedings, it was told to me that I needed to, because of the different configurations that I was planning for the salon, that there would be a need for a parking variance. as I went through the proceedings and saw how much time it could possibly take, I realized that in order to get my 6 to 8 month plan done in 6 to 8 months, I actually need to request the parking variance ahead of schedule so that I can actually have the equipment in the salon. Because one of the things that I discussed with Shannon was what would happen if I actually had the equipment in the salon, though I didn't have the techs to support the equipment. And as far as I was told, I would actually still then be in violation of what I'd agreed to, which was 1 tech and 1 set of service stations. So I'm standing before you asking for a parking variance. I believe the information states that I'm asking for a parking variance for 10 parking spots. What that would allow is for there to be 3 serviceable stations, which includes 3 manicuring stations, 3 pedicuring stations, and 1 additional parking space for a receptionist to sit at the desk and greet customers and then make sure that our schedules go smoothly. There was also in the request a sort of a negotiation, given that I am one of the first to come before the committee and before the board for a parking variance of this nature. It's such a small business and it's such a small space that the amount of cash that would actually be needed is actually quite a bit. If I were to go to phase 3 right now, I would be looking at about $9,000 in parking variances because I would need about 21 spaces to have 5 working serviceable stations inside of the salon and have 5 to 8 techs on staff at any given time, along with a receptionist. And for a new, small, and personally owned business, while the investment for the equipment, the investment for the techs, the investment for the advertisement is a lot. The investment for the parking actually is more than half of the investment that I would have had to, that I've already had to come up with to get the salon open. It's scheduled for open next year, and I've had a few bumps, but we're still pushing along. And so what I was asking of the committee and the board is that they would grant kind of like a stay on the parking variances for the space because it is so small. And I guess it's more seen as a waiver of some of the fees as opposed to a stay in terms of how you all would actually view the item. And the way that I was requesting to negotiate that is that I live in the area, so there's really no need for me to drive. I literally live 3 blocks away, and if I'm not walking in the winter, someone will drop me off. But I've also been told that there are areas within the village limits where the employees would be able to purchase parking permits, which would reduce the number of parking spaces that the salon would have to maintain. And that for, I'd also like to ask that for any of the employees that actually live in the area and that are willing to walk and willing to agree to walk, that 1 space be removed from the requirement for those employees in order to reduce the financial burden.
Okay, Ms. Knight, but one thing, and ask for waivers or anything, this board does not have anything to do with price.
Okay.
That is strictly a function of the village trustees.
Okay.
So all we consider are special uses, variances, and adherence to our codes.
Okay.
So that we can't help you with whatsoever. For that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want
that's
you to
fine.
be aware of that.
That just means I need to bring it up next
Yes,
meeting.
ma'am.
So the short of the story is I'm here to request 10 spaces for a parking variance for the salon.
All right. Is anybody from the audience would care to speak on this issue? No? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Staff, do you?
The petitioner, as you alluded to, the petitioner does need to bring the item forward before the village board, and that's actually scheduled for the 16th. So the discussion following this evening would then be considered in addition to the request for the waiver or reduction in fees for the cash in lieu program. I can just speak a little bit to the parking need at this development. Please. It's an older apartment building, probably built in the 50s or 60s, mixed use. There's 3 commercial spaces along with a 16-unit apartment building. There is some parking in a lot behind the apartment itself, which was probably designed to accommodate some of the commercial tenants or at least customers. But there's 40 spaces, and the salon itself has a requirement of 10. There's a need for 40 based on the 16 units alone. If you add in the new salon, that would be 50. I'm presuming, based on just kind of estimating the number of pieces of equipment at the other two businesses, those each would have a need for 10. So that puts them up near about 70. In terms of practicality, it doesn't really seem that there's a practical shortage. It's more of a technical shortage in terms of what our code requires. It seems like the number of parking spaces there have served the mixed-use building reasonably well throughout the last several tenancies of the commercial space. I don't have any further comment unless there are questions.
Okay. Let's start with the commissioners. Commissioner Fleet?
So, Shannon, what you're saying is with the technical, with it being a technical shortage, that right now things are okay? Is that what we take?
We haven't had any complaints or issues in terms of there not being enough or adequate parking for customers or residents at that particular development.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Commissioner Van Buren?
So this is a technical but not necessarily a real problem.
That's staff's interpretation of the situation here.
But the variance request is real. I mean, they do need a variance because there is a shortage of parking. It's just that it doesn't seem to be practically working itself out.
Right.
Residents that live there are parking on the streets or something.
Well,
From what we know.
my thought when I read over this is you're a startup of a new business.
Yes.
You have had a business before this
Yes.
that you're moving customers over here from?
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say you might want to crawl before you walk.
Well, and in the letter that there were parts about it where December to March are the lulls. This is the slow time. This is the time where if you're going to do any kind of remodeling, any kind of reshaping of your salon, now is the time to do it, because as soon as April hits, between April and October, these salons are flooded with people who want their hands and their toes done. And it's just the nature of the business. The summertime, and any time you can put your toes in a pair of open-toed shoes, women will flock to a nail salon and get their hands and their feet done. And even men come because they're going on vacation to get their grooming as well. So what I'm trying to do is to prepare for the expectation that the spring and summer months will bring more than the activity that would be happening right now.
Okay, now let me understand. The only thing that this board is considering is to whether to give a variance on the number of spaces. We don't talk about the money here. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So I understand, that's all.
Commissioner Anton?
Nice letter. I wish you luck with the board to get it reduced. I don't see a problem with that. I see that business going, and that it's been a pretty awkward situation with the parking, and I don't see a problem with it.
Thank you.
And Wally does my toes, so I don't have to worry.
Commissioner Pill?
Tough to follow.
I had to beat you.
No, I have an understanding. So you're basically just planning ahead to get through phases 1 and 2. If and when you get to phase 3A or B, then we'd see you back again. But you've got some time on your timeline for that.
Oh, yes.
These are so close together that because of the timing of publication and things, you feel it necessary to do this now, both because of the timing and also because it's your slow season.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
I think it'd be different if we'd have a room full of apartment dwellers complaining that they don't think they'll have any place to park. That's not the case.
and I have no worries or concerns that this is a bad move, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
The only thing I have is, I'm sorry you didn't combine it. You could have saved yourself some money. Sorry, you have to go through these extra steps.
Good business plan, though. Good plan.
Business plan. And as Commissioner Anton said, it's one heck of a letter. You do very well.
Thank you.
No further comments? Since we have a zoning code variance request, we need findings of fact. If we could have a reading, please.
Criteria number 1, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it's located. There's no room for the property to provide off-street parking stalls for this business due to its location in the densely developed central business district. Without this variance, the property would be unusable except for the smallest of commercial operations that do not require parking. This variance is not driven by a desire to derive additional revenue from the property.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement.
Criteria number 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The owner did not create the shortage of off-street parking for this property, and there is no room on the property to provide additional parking.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement.
Criteria number 3, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. Many business locations in the central business district do not have adequate off-street parking and must rely on available public parking. A study commissioned by the village demonstrates that there is available public parking for businesses in the central business district. Granting this variance will not alter the character of the neighborhood.
If you agree with this, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a zoning code variance request are hereby adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees a zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Anton, seconded by Commissioner Fleet. Question on the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. Okay, you have our recommendation for a variance request, and staff can again tell you when you'll go before the committee of the whole and save your letter, and perhaps, but they are the ones that have the power to grant you a reduction in fees.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that we have somebody in the audience, do you wish to address the board?
No, I'm just late. You know, can I bring up?
Would you please come up and sign in?
Tom Caveney, and I own the property at 232 North Cass. I guess you just approved or began approval
We
for our
recommended
tenant.
approval, yes.
Right. Can I bring up something unrelated?
Please.
When I built the building, I had to get a variance because the code says you have to have a setback off of Cass of, I believe, 10 feet or maybe 5 feet.
5, however, we encourage building to the setback.
You make them
in the
have-
central business district.
You make them go to the sidewalk.
We ask that that be
Right,
done.
and I wanted to go back 5 or 10 feet and have a green space to make it more, that's just me, I'm a gardener. But anyway, the problem that I've had since I built the building, you're right at the sidewalk. Cass is a very busy street. Hinsdale and Downers Grove have more sidewalk room. They have like this, they have more than Westmont does. I put the doors inside so there'd be a little bit of room. Whenever you walk out the door, about 1 every 20 times, you might get hit by a skateboarder, or hit by a bike, or hit by, you scare the hell out of an old lady, she's like, I just really think that the village should reconsider that for future buildings, to make it more of a Long Grove, more of a hometown. Let the buildings be back and forth. They don't all have to be at the same place. It's just a thought. And it's a safety concern too, because someone is going to get hit.
That might be something you might want to bring up at the
Rather
Thursday
something.
night committee of the whole.
Yeah.
And see what the trustees think about it.
Yeah.
It's a shame these kids are skateboarding here because got a beautiful skateboard park on 63rd.
Yeah, I know, they skateboard in the back a lot too by the alley. And
This is working for me.
I say, why don't they go to the skateboard park?
Kids will be kids.
And they jump off the ramps and stuff.
Crazy kids, aren't
We've
they?
also had problem with homeless people back there. And I've only seen it once on Saturday at noon. Homeless people back there drinking, probably in their 30s, and then peeing right in front of me on my garbage cans.
Shocking.
When you see those things, we want to encourage you to call the police department so that they can come out, because that's really the only way that we can do
Yeah.
anything about it.
I didn't call that time, but the guy next to me says they're there all the time. and
You have a
that
cell phone?
he calls. Yeah,
Use the camera function to take a picture.
okay.
That way you can prove to the police when you call them. Serious, I'm very serious.
These guys are laughing.
Well, that's
Hyena side.
those guys. We
Maybe
don't
it
look-
was one
we
of
don't look at
them.
that side.
It just threw me off because they were so bold. 12 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm standing there.
Yeah.
But I guess they were drunk.
But like I say, if you ever see something like that, the camera function on the cell phone works great.
Like what?
Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Okay, what time is it?
Do board members have?
I have a question for staff. I was curious under new business in our first PZ item, what the significance of the lowercase b is under 10.
The significance of that is that we accidentally issued that number twice. So it's more for record keeping,
see.
housekeeping purposes. It's not really of significance to the
Attacking
commission.
staff.
Okay. Just checking. I wanted to make sure that I had this.
Yes,
I want to
you're
make sure I
right.
filed it correctly in my drawer.
Any other commissioner comments?
You need a hobby.
Well, before we sign off, I would like to wish all my fellow board members a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and the same to all the folks that reside in the village of Westmont.
Same to you, Chairman.
Right back at you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Anton. All in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned.